A TSA agent was having the worst day of her career when a rude passenger made everything worse. She had no idea she was screening her own son, who had just returned from a dangerous deployment overseas. What happened when she realized the truth will make you believe in miracles. Welcome to Soul-Stirring Stories. Before we dive into this incredible tale of family, sacrifice, and the most beautiful surprise you'll ever see, tell me in the comments if you have a family member in the military or if you've ever experienced an unexpected reunion. And if stories like this touch your heart, hit that subscribe button and help us honor the families who serve our country. Friday morning at Chicago O'Hare International Airport started like any other for Maria Santos. As a TSA agent for 8 years, she had seen it all: impatient business travelers, nervous first-time flyers, and everything in between. But today felt different. Today felt heavy. Maria had been checking her phone obsessively for 3 months, waiting for any word from her son Carlos. His deployment to Afghanistan was classified, which meant no regular phone calls, no video chats, and no knowing when or if he would come home safely. The last message she'd received was a brief text: "Can't talk for a while, Mom. Love you. Stay strong." That was 97 days ago. She'd been counting. As Maria put on her TSA uniform that morning, she caught herself in the mirror. At 45, the stress of being a military mom was showing. The worry lines around her eyes seemed deeper, and her usually bright smile had been forced for months. Her husband Roberto had been trying to keep her spirits up, but they both knew that until Carlos walked through their front door, neither of them would truly rest. "Another day, mija," she whispered to herself, touching the small military mom pin on her uniform. A gift from Carlos before his last deployment. The morning rush at O'Hare was brutal. Summer travel season meant longer lines, shorter tempers, and more stressed passengers taking their frustrations out on security staff. Maria had already dealt with a businessman who screamed at her for making him remove his laptop, a family who blamed her personally for their flight delay, and an elderly woman who cried because she was scared of the body scanner. This job used to be about keeping people safe, Maria thought, as she directed another irritated passenger to remove their shoes. Now it feels like everyone sees us as the enemy. By 2 p.m., Maria's patience was wearing thin. Her lunch break had been cut short because 2 agents called in sick, leaving the security checkpoint understaffed during the busiest part of the day. The line stretched back further than she could see, and passengers were growing increasingly agitated. That's when he approached her checkpoint. The young soldier was tall, wearing his army dress uniform with obvious pride despite his exhaustion. His duffel bag was worn and dusty, and his boots had the kind of scuff marks that came from real deployment, not parade grounds. Maria noticed him immediately. She always paid attention to military personnel, partly because of her job, but mostly because of Carlos. The soldier's face was turned down as he approached, focusing on organizing his documents and ID. His hair was shorter than regulation, probably fresh from a forward operating base, and his uniform had that particular fade that came from desert sun. "Next," Maria called, gesturing him forward. As the soldier stepped up to her station, something nagged at the back of Maria's mind, something familiar in the way he moved, the set of his shoulders. But she pushed the feeling aside. After months of hoping to see Carlos everywhere, she'd learned not to trust these moments of wishful thinking. "Good afternoon, sir," Maria said professionally, extending her hand for his military ID and travel documents. "Thank you for your service." The soldier handed over his documents without looking up. "Thank you, ma'am." His voice hit Maria like a physical blow. Deep, familiar, with just a hint of the boy she remembered. But it couldn't be. Carlos wasn't due back for 6 more months. His last deployment extension had been devastating news. Another half year of worry. Another half year of wondering if each day would bring a knock on the door she never wanted to receive. Maria looked down at the military ID in her hand, and the world seemed to stop moving. Staff Sergeant Carlos M. Santos, U.S. Army. The photo showed her son's face, but thinner than she remembered, more mature, with eyes that had seen things she prayed she'd never have to know about. Her hands began to tremble as she looked up at the young man standing before her. Carlos was staring directly at her now, a small, tentative smile playing at the corners of his mouth. The same smile he'd given her when he was 7 years old and had broken her favorite vase, but was hoping she wouldn't be too mad. "Hi, Mom," he said quietly, his voice barely audible over the airport noise. Maria's world exploded into 1,000 pieces and rebuilt itself in the span of a heartbeat. The military ID fell from her shaking hands as she really looked at her son for the first time in 8 months. He was thinner, yes, and there were new lines around his eyes, but it was unmistakably Carlos, her baby, her soldier, home. "Carlos?" she whispered, her voice breaking on his name. "Surprise," he said, his own voice thick with emotion. "My unit got orders to rotate home." The tears came without warning, flowing down her cheeks as 8 months of suppressed worry and fear released all at once. Behind her, she could hear the murmur of other passengers and TSA agents realizing something extraordinary was happening. "Ma'am?" called her supervisor, Janet, approaching from the side. "Is everything okay?" Maria tried to respond but couldn't form words. She just pointed at Carlos, then at his ID, then back at Carlos, her hands shaking. Carlos stepped forward, understanding. "Ma'am, I'm Staff Sergeant Carlos Santos. This is my mother, Maria Santos. I've been deployed in Afghanistan for the past 8 months, and she didn't know I was coming home today." Janet's expression immediately softened. As a supervisor who had worked with Maria for years, she knew about Carlos's deployment and had seen Maria's struggle with the long separation and communication blackout. "Oh my God, Maria," Janet breathed. "Is this really?" Maria finally found her voice. "It's him. It's my Carlos. He's home." What happened next was something that would be talked about at O'Hare for years to come. Janet immediately stepped forward and announced to the line of waiting passengers, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take just a moment here. This TSA agent just discovered that the soldier she's screening is her son, returning home from deployment." The reaction was instantaneous. Instead of groans or complaints about delays, the entire security area erupted in applause. Passengers pulled out their phones, not to complain about wait times, but to capture a moment of pure joy. Other TSA agents abandoned their posts to witness the reunion. Carlos stepped around the metal detector and into his mother's arms for the first time in 8 months. Maria hugged him with the desperate intensity of a mother who had spent countless nights wondering if she would ever hold her child again. "I missed you so much," she sobbed into his shoulder. "I missed you so much, mijo." "I missed you too, Mom, every day." They held each other as O'Hare International Airport, one of the busiest, most impersonal places in the world, became witness to the most personal moment imaginable. Passengers wiped away tears. Airport staff gathered around. Even the usually stoic security personnel were visibly moved. Carlos pulled back to look at his mother's face. "Mom, I have something to tell you. I'm not just home for leave. My enlistment is up. I'm coming home for good." Maria's knees nearly gave out. "For good? Really? Really. I did my service, Mom. I did what I needed to do. Now I want to come home and start the next chapter. Maybe go back to school. Maybe start that business Dad and I talked about. But I want to do it here, with my family. Janet, who had been watching with tears in her own eyes, stepped forward. Maria, take the rest of the day off. Take the weekend. Take whatever time you need. But the checkpoint, Maria protested weakly. We'll be fine, Janet assured her. This is more important. One of the passengers, an elderly veteran in a Vietnam War cap, approached them. Son, he said to Carlos, thank you for your service. And ma'am, he turned to Maria, thank you for your sacrifice too. Military moms serve just as much as their children do. The sentiment was echoed throughout the crowd. Other veterans identified themselves and thanked Carlos. Parents of military children hugged Maria and shared their own stories of worry and pride. Airport employees stopped their work to witness something beautiful in a place that usually only saw stress and hurry. A young woman with her phone out approached hesitantly. Excuse me, I hope this isn't inappropriate, but I recorded part of this reunion. It's absolutely beautiful. Would you mind if I shared it? I think people need to see this kind of joy right now. Maria looked at Carlos, who shrugged with a smile. If it makes people happy, then sure. The video, posted to TikTok and later shared across every social media platform, showed the moment of recognition, the embrace, and the celebration of an entire airport terminal coming together to honor a military family's reunion. It went viral within hours, but the impact went far beyond social media metrics. The video reached other military families who shared their own stories of difficult separations and joyful reunions. It reached TSA agents across the country who were reminded of why their jobs mattered. They weren't just screening passengers, they were facilitating reunions, helping people get to the ones they loved. It reached civilians who had never thought about the sacrifice of military families, who began to understand that service meant not just the soldier, but everyone who loved them and worried about them while they were gone. 3 days later, Carlos and Maria appeared together on a national morning show, sharing their story and talking about the importance of supporting military families. Carlos spoke about the soldiers he had served with, who weren't coming home, and asked that people remember their families too.
Maria talked about the thousands of military parents who go to work every day carrying the weight of worry, and how a little kindness from strangers could make an enormous difference. The interview led to Carlos being offered a position with a veteran support organization, helping other returning soldiers transition back to civilian life. He accepted, finding a new way to serve his country and his fellow veterans. For Maria, the experience changed how she approached her job. She began paying special attention to military families traveling through her checkpoint, offering extra patience and understanding to parents sending children off to service or welcoming them home. O'Hare International Airport installed a small plaque near the security checkpoint where the reunion took place. It reads, "In honor of all military families who serve together, sacrifice together, and celebrate together. Thank you for your service." 6 months later, Carlos married his longtime girlfriend Sarah in a ceremony attended by several of the passengers and airport employees who had witnessed his homecoming. Maria walked him down the aisle, proud beyond words of the man her son had become. During his wedding speech, Carlos said, "People always thank soldiers for their service, and I appreciate that. But I want people to know that my mother served too. Every day I was gone, she served. Every night she worried instead of sleeping, she served. Every time she smiled at work while her heart was breaking, she served." Military families serve together. The video of the reunion continues to be shared, especially around holidays when military families are separated. It has become a symbol of hope for parents whose children are deployed and a reminder that love can create miracles in the most unexpected places. Today, Maria still works at O'Hare. Carlos visits her at work sometimes, and she always introduces him proudly to her colleagues. "This is my son, he's a veteran.
and he's home for good. And every time she screens a soldier at her checkpoint, she thinks about another parent somewhere, counting the days and praying for their own miracle reunion. Maria Santos's story reminds us that the men and women who serve in our military don't serve alone. Their families serve alongside them, carrying the weight of worry, pride, and love every single day. Her surprise reunion with Carlos shows us that miracles can happen in the most ordinary places, witnessed by strangers who become family in moments of pure joy. If this story moved you and made you think about the military families in your community, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Your share might reach another military parent who needs to know that their service is seen and appreciated too. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that honor the heroes among us, not just those who wear uniforms, but those who love them and support them through every deployment, every worry.